Football is not merely a game of margins, but a grand theater where the weight of history and the fragility of human ambition collide under the unforgiving glare of the floodlights. There is an existential coldness to the final whistle of a World Cup semi-final, a sudden, deafening silence that descends upon the losing side while the victors erupt into a state of pure, unadulterated ecstasy. At the Dallas Stadium in Arlington, as the humid Texas air hung thick over 70,000 souls, this timeless drama played out with devastating clarity. For France, a powerhouse defined by its golden generation and relentless pursuit of historical immortality, the dream of reaching a third consecutive World Cup final vanished into the ether. For Spain, the triumph was a masterclass in modern, clinical possession, a performance so calculated and calm that it felt almost cruel. The 2-0 scoreline was not a product of chaos, but the logical conclusion of a tactical chess match where one grandmaster anticipated every single move of the other. As the French players collapsed onto the turf, staring blankly into the rafters, the realization of their tactical capitulation began to set in. To understand the profound gravity of this semi-final, one must first look back at the winding, heavy paths both nations traveled to reach this monumental stage. France entered this tournament carrying the immense psychological burden of expectation, aiming to emulate the legendary runs of West Germany in the late 80s and Brazil in the late 90s. Didier Deschamps, the pragmatic architect of modern French dominance, stood on the precipice of his final campaign, desperately seeking to cement his legacy with one last golden crown. His tenure had been defined by an ability to ground elite individual brilliance within a rigid, unbreakable defensive structure. Yet beneath the surface, the media pressure was suffocating, with critics constantly questioning whether this star-studded squad was playing with too much caution. Spain, conversely, arrived as the reigning European champions, possessing a psychological liberation that only comes from knowing their system works. Under Luis de la Fuente, La Roja had shed the sterile, redundant possession of their past, evolving into a vertical, dynamic beast. The history between these two giants added another layer of venom to the tie, with Spain having recently tormented Les Blues in the Euro 2024 semi-finals and the 2025 Nations League. For Kylian Mbappé, the freshly crowned leader of his generation, this was supposed to be the definitive redemptive arc on American soil. Instead, it became a haunting reminder of Spain's psychological hold over his nation, a narrative of youthful exuberance dismantling veteran experience. The opening exchanges of this semi-final were characterized by a high-intensity, physical chess match, with both managers deploying aggressive press triggers. Spain set up in their fluid 4-1-2-3 formation, aiming to dominate the half-spaces through Dani Olmo and Fabian Ruiz, while Rodri anchored the midfield. France countered with a rigid 4-2-3-1, intending to use Aurélien Tchouaméni and Adrien Rabiot to smother Rodri and launch rapid transitions. The tactical setup from Deschamps was clear: compress the center and exploit the space behind Spain's high defensive line using Mbappé's terrifying pace. However, the first major tactical shift occurred in the 9th minute, born from a moment of defensive overcommitment. Dani Olmo, dropping deep into the half-space to escape Tchouaméni's shadow, received a crisp, vertical line-breaking pass from Pau Cubarsí. Sensing the danger, Adrien Rabiot stepped out of his mid-block position, attempting a high-press tackle but mistiming his challenge completely. Rabiot brought Olmo down on the edge of the box, earning an early yellow card. This defensive breakdown forced France into a psychological retreat, as their primary defensive midfielder was now playing on a tightrope, unable to commit to aggressive tactical fouls. The subsequent free kick by Alex Baena struck the wall, but the psychological damage was done. France lowered their defensive block, allowing Spain's centre-backs to advance higher up the pitch. With France retreating into a compact, low block, Spain began to patiently probe the flanks, looking for a way to destabilize the French fullback pairing of Jules Koundé and Lucas Digne. The breakthrough arrived in the 20th minute, orchestrating a perfect example of modern wing play and defensive vulnerability. Marc Cucurella, receiving the ball wide on the left wing, noticed the French midfield shifting too slowly to cover the far side. Cucurella delivered a deep, diagonal cross toward the back post, designed to test Lucas Digne's aerial positioning. Digne chose to control the ball with his chest rather than clearing it with his head, a critical technical error in a high-pressure zone. Lamine Yamal, showcasing extraordinary anticipation, nipped ahead of the stationary defender just as Digny attempted to clear his lines. The contact was unavoidable, and the referee pointed directly to the penalty spot. Mikel Oyarzabal stepped up, the weight of a nation resting on his shoulders. With absolute composure, Oyarzabal struck a powerful, precise shot into the top right corner, past the desperate dive of Mike Maignan. This goal shattered France's defensive game plan, forcing them to chase the game and open up spaces in their defensive third. The aftermath of the opening goal brought immediate tactical complications for France, as their defensive stability suffered a catastrophic blow. Just before the half-hour mark, William Saliba signaled to the bench, succumbing to a recurring back injury that had plagued his recent club seasons. Deschamps was forced into an unplanned substitution, introducing Maxence Lacroix. This disruption in the central defensive partnership of Upamecano and Saliba further destabilized France's high defensive line. Spain, sensing the vulnerability, nearly doubled their lead in the 38th minute. Mike Maignan, under intense pressure from Spain's high press, played a careless, short pass directly into the path of Alex Baena. Baena quickly fed Dani Olmo, who produced a brilliant backheel to release Lamine Yamal inside the penalty area. Yamal squared a low-driven pass across the face of the goal toward Fabian Ruiz. Only a desperate, sliding challenge from Dayot Upamecano prevented an open net tap-in. France survived, but their attacking transitions remained completely broken, with Mbappé isolated and caught offside twice before the halftime whistle. Deschamps attempted to salvage the match at halftime, replacing the booked Rabiot with Manu Kone, hoping to inject physical dynamism into a stagnant midfield. However, Spain's tactical discipline remained absolute, suffocating France's wingers, Ousmane Dembélé and Bradley Barcola. In the 58th minute, Spain delivered the definitive tactical knockout blow. The move started deep in Spain's half, with Rodri calmly circulating possession to draw the French press forward. Dani Olmo received the ball in the central channel, turning away from Kone with ease. Olmo executed a perfectly weighted, diagonal pass into the right channel, matching the overlapping run of Pedro Porro. Porro played a rapid, telepathic give-and-go with Olmo, slicing through the static French defense. Continuing his run into the penalty box, Porro side-footed a clinical, low shot past Mike Maignan. The tactical execution was flawless, exploiting the space vacated by Digny, who had stepped up too early to press Olmo. This second goal broke the spirit of Les Bleus, leaving their players looking dejected and tactically disorganized. With a two-goal cushion, Spain transitioned into a rest defense block, dropping their defensive line and utilizing substitutions like Pedri and Mikel Merino to control the tempo. France looked completely devoid of ideas, relying on hopeful, long-range efforts and desperate individual runs. Kylian Mbappé, moving to the left wing to find space, was consistently crowded out by the brilliant defensive pairing of Aymeric Laporte and Pau Cubarsí. In the 86th minute, Mbappé's frustration boiled over, resulting in a yellow card for a late, reckless challenge on Unai Simon. 2 minutes later, Ryan Cherki, who had replaced Michael Ollis, won a free kick on the edge of the area. Mbappé stood over the ball, a final opportunity to spark a miraculous comeback. Yet, his curling effort sailed harmlessly high and wide, a fitting metaphor for France's entire evening. When the final whistle blew, the scoreboard read 2-0, cementing Spain's place in the World Cup final and bringing a bittersweet end to Didier Deschamps' historic tenure as France's manager. This tactical masterclass leaves Spain on the precipice of absolute global footballing hegemony. By reaching the 2026 World Cup final, Luis de la Fuente has validated his philosophy of high-tempo, vertical possession, proving that international success can be achieved through collective tactical synergy rather than relying solely on superstar individuals. For France, this defeat marks the end of an era. With Didier Deschamps set to step down after the third-place playoff, French football stands at a critical crossroads. The sheer abundance of raw talent within their ranks is undeniable, but this tournament has exposed a profound tactical stagnation, a failure to adapt when their defensive solidity is compromised. The next manager will inherit a squad capable of dominating the next decade, but only if they can unlock the tactical fluidity that Spain showcased so effortlessly. As the dust settles on this historic night in Arlington, one must ask, is Spain's tactical evolution the blueprint for the future of international football, or did France simply beat themselves through tactical stubbornness and individual errors?